Hi, I'm Cameron Cheats with Queerty, and it is quite the honor to be joined today by Colman Domingo and Clarence Maclin to talk about their beautiful new film, Sing Sing. How's it going, gentlemen?
That's going wonderful.
I had the pleasure of seeing this actually a month ago at a screening in LA, and Coleman, you were there along with your director and Paul Racy, and you said something there that really stuck with me, which is just that you really wanted to do this movie in an effort to depict tenderness between men on screen as the sort of antidote to toxic masculinity. And I guess I'm curious, in your view, why is that something we need to see more of in media right now? And why is Sing Sing the perfect movie to address this?
I think in the center is this theater program called RTA. And I think anyone who understands the process of theater means you have to go to a level of vulnerability and open yourself up, put yourself in someone else's shoes, to do a deep dive of work. And it requires you to be a bit more open. And I think that's what I think that, at least as I've gotten to know brothers like Clarence and many of my other comrades, that was the work they were doing in there. And it started to unpack a lot of things that built their foundation, and they needed to deconstruct that to become, different human beings. You know what I mean? I think that, and it's also deconstructing the things that society puts on people of hyper masculine, toxic masculinity, all the things, all that stuff that keeps people away from being open and kind to each other, or like being able to express their feelings or their vulnerabilities, because that can be used as, it can be threatened because of it. So I think that's just important to me, not only for this film, but it's been important for me just in life, actually, as a director, as a writer. I feel like seeing more images of men, brothers, fathers, sons, being vulnerable with one another, holding on to one another. I think it smashes ideas and tropes about who we are out in the world, thinking that we don't feel, that we are hardened, that we don't love each other, care for each other, that we're just busy killing each other. So for me, it was about deconstructing all of that. So if I can do that even with a small gesture, there's one gesture that me and my director zoomed in on when we were doing an interview yesterday, where I just hold over my hand like this, and Sean Dino Johnson holds my hand like this for a second, probably just for a second. Just that image for me is showing tenderness. It's not all hugs and kisses and stuff like that, but I feel like it's just gestures of them saying, "I got you, and I see you, and you can be vulnerable with me, and you don't have to hold on to all these things that society feels like you need to hold on to, but you can be free and liberate yourself."
I'd be curious then, Clarence, for yourself. I mean, this idea of tenderness and male relationships and being able to feel that, was that something that you were cognizant of happening while you were going through the RTA program? Were you seeing these walls coming down during that
Yes, I
process?
was.
Yeah.
Yes. I believe that, I did start seeing it. Even though I didn't see it in the beginning, but on this road, it began to make more and more sense to me that to be a complete human being, to be whole, you can't just only be this toxic masculine person all the time, because you deny yourself certain qualities in yourself. You're going to deny yourself the ability to grow into certain qualities. You won't recognize empathy. You won't recognize sympathy. You won't recognize these things because you want to bleed them out of yourself, because society taught you this, to not care, to not cry, to not show any type of softer emotions, because that's not a man, that's not masculine. If we cling on to that and we don't change that, we're gonna slowly deconstruct our own selves and become something that's less than a human being, less than men. We need completeness, we need wholeness, and it affects the way we make decisions every day in the smaller things, which are only microcosmic of the bigger things. So in order to make complete whole decisions, I think you're going to have to be a complete whole individual.
I wouldn't want to give too much away, but there is this standout scene for Coleman, for your character, when he's talking about his childhood a bit and how he was bullied because of his interest in the arts. And I think it's pretty strongly implied that a lot of this bullying was because people were afraid that he might be gay or wanting to position him that way. And I wondered, is that an element of the real Divine G story, or is that something that was brought into this picture?
No, it's an element of his own story, of the fact that he was like, I went to the Fame School, I went to the High School for Performing Arts. And he was like, he loved to, express himself. He was a DJ, he liked to dance, he was an artist, and he still is. But, and, he writes. I mean, when you meet the real guy, he does everything. And he was like, yeah, now that when they found out I was taking dance class, whether it was jazz dance or ballet or something like that, he would get teased. It's still such an odd idea to me that anything related to an expression of dance or wearing tights is also related to sexuality. I've never understood that. Like, why is that sex instead of dance? A love for dance. But it's the thing that I think it's the feeling of something foreign that you don't understand, that may be associated with something that brings up issues in you. I think that's exactly what it is. So I think that he made choices. He said part of the choices I made in my life was like, I pushed that side of my expression away. So I had to fight. I had to, whatever. But it took me down a different path. But on the inside, he said that that stuff started to flourish, because it's like, and that's why even in the film, there's only one moment where I actually do a pirouette after, Clarence Divine Maclin, goes in to get my role in Hamlet. And he's out there with nothing. He's just out there and a little caught up in his feelings in a way. And then I made a choice to just do a little turn. And I told Greg why I wanted to do the turn. I said, because as I got to know him, I said, I want to know that dancer's still in there. That part of being an artist is still there, waiting to be found. It's not lost. And I think that's part of him clinging to hope and all that it's still there. And I think and he just needed, somebody to pour into that for it to express him. But he started to express himself as a writer, as a director, all that stuff on the inside. And he's a phenomenal dude. He's become a dear pal.
And that parallels some to my life as well, because when I was growing up, I liked to draw, paint, and things of that nature. And I suppressed that side of me because it wasn't what the cool kids were doing. The cool kids were into basketball and football. So no one ever questioned my sexuality about that or nothing, because that wasn't the issue or the case. It was just that it was a more peer pressure thing. It was a more like this is what the boys do. And I wasn't a part of that. I wasn't into that. I didn't know how to, I don't gamble. I didn't really get into the sports thing. I never was. I like to draw, and I like to do these things by myself. I didn't need a team or anything. I can go over here and draw. All I need is pencil and paper. But I did suppress that because I wanted to be with the cool kids. I wanted to be one of these guys. I didn't want to be viewed as anything that's not cool, someone who's not a cool guy. No one ever questioned my sexuality, anything like that, but there was a pressure. All the guys your age are supposed to be doing, because we've been conditioned that way. And if you do anything other than this right here, you're not one of us. I've been through that as well, as far as not being on a team. I'm more of a loner, and I'm more comfortable that way. I didn't really need the team.
Well, that is all my time, unfortunately. But Clarence, Colman, so great to see you both. Congrats on this film. It's just truly, truly beautiful, and can't wait for everyone to see it. So thanks for the time today.
Thanks for having us.